Hi, I'm David.
And I'm Asa.
And you're watching Kane News. Because of Hurricane Helene last week, MHS is helping with hurricane relief efforts to help people who were affected by the storm. Students have been placed into teams by their fifth period teacher. Needed items have been divided into categories with point values. The team that collects the most points will earn a prize.
The teams are the Hurricane Heroes with Mr. Beatty, Miss Conover, Mrs. Ellswick, Miss Grant, Mr. Mateo, Mr. Murray, Miss Rogers, and the Awesome Administration team. The Lightning Legends with Miss Armour, Mr. Bokelman, Coach D, Mr. Galletti, Mr. Hiddell, Coach Latessa, and Miss McCarthy, and the custodial crew.
The Surge Squad with Mr. Baker, Mr. Brooms, Miss Cattell, Senora Ronderos, Miss Mayo, Odell, Mr. Rice, and the Dean team. The Anna Maria Island Avengers with Mr. Miller, Mrs. Braciano, Mr. Briggs, Mrs. Crosby, Mrs. O'Leary, Mrs. Miller, Mrs. Reynolds, front desk, attendants, and bookkeepers.
The Super Storms with Miss A, Miss Bowler, Miss Carson, Mr. Wiggins, Miss C, Mrs. Hofstra, Mr. Kincannon, and Coach Price. The Gale Force Guardians with Mrs. Barnes, Miss Bullmeyer, Mr. Casey, Miss E, Miss Johansson, Miss Adams, and Miss Soya.
Storm Strikers with Miss Brush and Coach Green, Lieutenant Colonel Crawford, Miss Gailey, Sergeant Major Zock, Coach Goog, First Sergeant Krellick, and Miss Stoll. The Bradenton Beach Battlers with Mrs. Byer, Mr. Bragg, Miss V. Walter, Mrs. B. Walter, Mr. Garrity, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Reiber, and the Guidance Department.
The Holmes Beach Helpers with Mr. Conley, Mr. Vieira, Mr. D. Dunbar, and Miss Swart, Miss Franchi, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Peebles, and Mr. Wandell. The Whirlwind Warriors with Mr. Gilbert, Mr. C. Graham, Mr. Jamisco, Mr. Lee, Mr. Stollard, Mr. Stremka, Miss Watts, and Senora Toro.
And finally, the Cortez Champions with Mr. Kilkowski, Mr. Kincannon, Coach Lansky, Miss Link, Mr. Salinzi, Mr. Sackett, Miss Seitzma, Mr. Zerbonia. Donations will be ranked based on categories, where each number category is the number of points given for an item donated. Category 1 is paper towels and sponges. Category 2 includes peroxide, old bath-sized towels, gallons of water, rubber gloves, bottles of vinegar, 2-liter sodas, Gatorade, and condiments.
Category 3 includes heavy-duty pairs of gloves, Clorox wipes, empty spray bottles, bug spray, sunscreen, and handheld can openers. Category 4 donations are Dawn dish soap, full-size bottles, boxes of lawn bags, packs of batteries, all sizes, box of dust masks, dog or cat food, and water bowls for pets.
And finally, Category 5 are large buckets, mops, brooms, flashlights, contractor cleanup bags, fans, rakes, coolers, large storage bins, extension cords, power strips, and air mattresses. Donations will be collected by Student Council, and the points will be updated weekly.
Good morning, Canes. This is Mr. Peters, interrupting this edition of Kane News with a special announcement. At the end of the first week of our hurricane supply drive, we have 2 students that have been chosen to receive free homecoming tickets. This week's winners are Allison Craig and Eric Diaz. Congratulations to both of you. Please see Miss O'Leary in room 239 to pick up your tickets. Thanks to everyone who has participated, and please continue to bring in supplies to help those in need. Go Canes!
Our orchestra held a concert called Pop, Rock, and Bach last Tuesday, before the hurricane hit. Here's a clip of that performance. The full concert can be found by searching @Kane News on YouTube or by clicking the link in the Class Of page on Schoology.
Before the hurricane, our Hurricanes put on a dominating performance, beating IMG Ascenders 44-7. The game was a blowout from the start. Too bad Daddy's Money couldn't put on a better show against our Hurricanes. Our players of the week are Owen Jones, who didn't miss a kick, going 6-6, and Christian Figueroa, who had a scoop and score last Friday. During the week, Antonio and Gage had a chance to sit down and talk with them. Let's take a look.
Good morning, Canes. My name is Antonio Romo, and I'm interviewing our Special Teams Player of the Week.
I'm Owen Jones. I'm a kicker.
What made you want to be a kicker in the first place?
I've been playing soccer since I was like 4 or 5, so I just use my legs all the time just kicking. So I went to all the football games last year, and just watching them kick, it seemed like it was fun, so I wanted to try it out, and turned out I liked it.
Okay. And what would you say the best thing about being a kicker is?
Honestly, just like the crowd is really cool. It's really like loud and electric, and being able to help the team and score points and them cheering for you is just, it's a good feeling.
Good morning, Kane News. My name is Gage Blanchard. I'm with
Christian Figueroa.
your Defensive Player of the Week. This play that we're about to show everybody, can you walk us through what you were thinking and like your thought process through what was going on?
Yeah. So obviously I'm lining up on the line of scrimmage. I actually didn't do very well popping up and hitting the O-lineman, but I see the ball. I just start running and grab it and praying to God that I do not get run down by somebody on the end. And then, yeah, I'm just looking, trying to find, crease, and I found it. So
The full interviews, as well as all Kane News productions, can be found on YouTube by searching @Kane News or by clicking on the link found in your Class Of page on Schoology.
On Monday, varsity football took on Pinellas Park in our first district game. The Canes gave up a touchdown on the opening drive, but responded immediately with a thrilling kickoff return by Keyshawn Smith. After that, it was all Canes with a final score ending up 34-10. Look for the Player of the Week game interviews next week.
There's no game tonight, but next Thursday, our Manatee Hurricanes take on Benjamin High School here at Hawkins Stadium and look to continue our winning streak. The game will kick off at 7:30, so be sure to show up and support your Canes. The theme will be whiteout, so be sure to wear your whitest outfit to cheer on your team. Let's go Canes!
Monday night will be our annual talent show. The tickets are $5, and the show will start at 7 p.m. in the theater. Students, the end of first quarter is approaching fast. The last day of the quarter is next Friday, October 11th. Make sure you're keeping up with your grades so you don't get behind. Tune in next week for updates on the Hurricane Donation Drive and a HOCO preview.
This has been David
And Asa.
on Kane News, signing off.